Hello and welcome to the sideboard here at the StarCityGames.com Standard Open in Milwaukee. I'm Glenn Jones. I'm here with fellow beard enthusiast Caleb Durward. Significantly more enthusiastic, if you can't tell.
Way more enthusiastic.
Yep. So you came here this weekend, and it's unlike you, but you have someone else's deck sleeved up.
I do.
This is Ross Merriam's green-red aggro deck from the Invitational.
I'm glad you knew, because I did not.
Oh, well, there you go. Ross played it to a top 8 finish. Obviously, that tournament was also partially in Legacy, so we can't claim all the credit, but...
Didn't it top 8 the Standard Open at the same time, though? I thought there was a red-green aggro deck there as well. I could be wrong.
I don't know if it did. You might be right. I can't remember that top 8 list. But you decided, I know you said in your quick question answers that you don't really like the deck. It just seemed very good to you. You wanted to play it.
Deck's very consistent. Pretty powerful.
Yeah, sell us. What's so great?
Well, the overall consistency is a big selling factor. You've got a lot of ways of punching through the opponent's defense in the Gore Clan Rampagers, the Bonfire of the Damned, even Domri fighting guys is a way to get like the aggressive creatures like Hellrider through. I like the diversity at the top end. Both Thundermaw Hellkite and Wolfier's Silverheart. Both are good in different places. Once you reach that stage of the game, it's nice to have access to both. Gyrosage has been an all-star for me. I actually won a game on 2 lands earlier where I was casting Thundermaws because of Gyrosage and like bonfires for 2 and that sort of thing. The card is very good. It's very good in this deck.
Yeah, in the age-old Screw versus Flood, that's kind of a cheat on the matchup.
Yeah, exactly.
So obviously you have all these the mana guys, which are very helpful in just securing these late game creatures. But I think like the deck seems actually really nicely positioned against your Reanimator, where you can capitalize on their lack of removal with Gyrosage just living all the time. You're obviously able to kill all the mana guys with Bonfire, the Damned, Rampager's great. I think Domri as a fighter even seems much better when your opponent's on Centaur Healers instead of Loxodon Smiters.
Right, exactly. I'm pretty happy to be playing any matchup where I'm playing Wolfier's Silverheart and they're playing Thragtusk. Whenever that happens, I just feel amazing.
Yeah, it's very difficult for them to generate favorable blocks, especially with Rampager around.
Right, yes.
Okay, so beyond that, have there been any matchups you've identified as especially troubling? I know I just saw you playing against Boros Reckoner, and that card looked like it can be really tough. The
card is very good. A lot of the decks that use Boros Reckoner aren't very good against this. I've beaten Blue-White-Red twice today. Both of them were playing the max number of Reckoners. It's pretty easy to fight through out of that deck. My problem against Mono Red was not actually that he played Boros Reckoner. I was able to get it off of the table when I needed to, except for that final game, as you saw. My only real issue in the more aggressive red mirror was that I didn't really have a form of life gain, and my creatures are slightly slower, and he was able to capitalize on that. The game was still very close. He still had to peel well. That was probably my closest matchup on the day. Okay, so I guess you're basically just consenting that you may have to throw 2, maybe 3 cards worth of value at a Reckoner, but you're generating so much more against the rest of the deck that it doesn't actually cost you that much as a net loss. And a lot of the times you trade 1-for-1 with a Reckoner. Like if you have a Gore Clan Rampager, for example, in Game 2, he had to trade with that at a 1-for-1 value. Sometimes you can also eat a Reckoner along with another creature with Bonfire of the Damned. And then sometimes you can set up situations where the Reckoner doesn't matter that much. Like if you have, if you're blood rushing Gore Clan Rampager, for example. Especially if it's for lethal, obviously. Right, yes.
Moving over to the sideboard, it's a little interesting. Ground Seal is a card we've become accustomed to seeing against Reanimator. Makes them play fair. But you also have a playset of Strangleroot Geists, just chilling. I also brought in Ground Seal on the draw against Blue-White-Red, shaving Borderland Ranger. You're going to hit your land drops in that matchup anyway, so the cantrip's more valuable, and then being able to shut off Snapcasters can be huge. Yeah, especially their best draw against you is like a pile of Azorius Charms and Snapcasters, so shutting that off is pretty good. All right, so returning to Strangleroot Geists. Right. Where are these guys coming in? Oh, the aggro decks. They're excellent against aggro. Sometimes I'll bring them in if my opponent has a lot of Edict effects, but like I played against Mono Black Control in like round 2 or something, and I brought them in, and they was pretty good. But it's mostly for the other decks that want to play Burning Tree Emissary, because it trades with Emissary, and then when it comes back, it trades with Flint of Spore, which is excellent. It also fights really well with Domri Raid. If you're going to be consistently fighting with Domri Raid, it's an excellent creature to trade with the opponents. Yeah, it can trade very well against, especially the Burning Tree Emissary decks. Exactly. Perfect size to get most of those creatures. You also have a few removal spells, Pillar Flames and Mizian Mortars. I don't think we need too many explanations on that. Those cards are good. Generally, when I bring them in, I'm shaving a few bonfires.
just to
Sure,
like
you don't want to
overload on spells,
Yeah.
make the Domri raids bad, keep your threat count high, that sort of thing.
It's a good note. Yeah, you definitely don't want to just side too few creatures.
Right.
Hellrider being like a major factor in that as well. Is
Right.
Not very good by himself. Reasonable, but not that great. You also have on the sideboard a Singleton Cavern of Souls. I assume we're bringing that in for the Mize.
Right, bringing it in. I usually cut the Kessig Wolf Run. I don't know if that's what I'm supposed to be cutting, but it's been fine. I haven't really activated Kessig Wolf Run much today anyway.
Okay.
I haven't drawn the Cavern, so there have been situations where I wanted to draw it, but I didn't. I might consider upping that to 2 in the future.
Okay. And last but not least, the Thundermaw Hellkites. Do you find yourself kind of tweaking what 5-drops you want? Are there matchups where you actually overload the top and bring in like all
You
6?
usually bring them in against aristocrats. Sometimes you do overload the top end when you expect the matchup to go really late. I usually have like 5 drops against the control decks, for example.
Okay.
Sometimes I go up to 6, depending. The thing about Thundermaw is I went up to 4 against Sam Black, and I really regretted, because he was playing the aristocrats, and I really regretted not having a mix of Wolfir Silverhearts and Thundermaw Hellkites.
Sure.
He was boarding out his Lingering Souls. He's not an idiot. He knows that I'm playing Thundermaw Hellkite, so it was really reduced effectiveness there when it should have been an all-star.
Especially because without all the chump blockers, Wolfir Silverheart becomes significantly more powerful
Right.
as well.
Like, and I'm like curving out with Gorklam Rampager into like question mark. I would much rather have the Silverheart.
Right. Okay. Well,
There's one more card you didn't mention, the
I
Devil's
did mention
Play.
the Devil's Play.
I've been pretty unhappy with that card. Even I get that it's there for the control decks, so once you get in damage and they have to like tap out for something, you can fireball them. But the problem is that they're all playing Sphinx's Revelation, and you really don't want to be like trying to trade X damage spells for the gain X life spell that also draws them so many cards. It's not a good position to be in.
Yeah, without a Gyre Sage to really like amp it up, it's not that great. And when you're planning to use it post Wrath, then yeah, clearly just not.
You don't
really
have the Gyre Sage anymore. Right.
Makes sense. Well, Caleb, thanks for running down this sweet pseudo new addition to the metagame. Obviously, some heritage to Saito Gruul that we saw before the Pro Tour.
Sure.
In the Gyre Sage Burn Tributary
Yep. It's a
but
very good deck.
This is sort of the new face of it before we get into
Kudos to the
Dragon Trains.
creator, whoever that was.
All right, Caleb. Well, thank you for joining us.
Yep.
It's been a pleasure.